Welcome to Vista Veritas, the podcast dedicated to exploring the power of authentic, truth-driven leadership within the legal profession. I'm your host, Heather Carroll, operations consultant with the Vista Consulting Team. In every episode, we'll delve into how law firm leaders can build a culture of trust, collaboration, and success by embracing honesty, transparency, and integrity. We'll share practical strategies, real-world stories, and candid conversations with industry experts on everything from managing teams to fostering strong client relationships. Whether you're leading a firm, starting your legal career, or aspiring to grow as a leader, this podcast is for anyone committed to shaping a more open, accountable, and ethically driven legal practice. Let's get started and lead with transparency. Hey, and welcome to today's episode of Vista Veritas. I am here today joined with Delisi Friday, who is the owner and founder of First Call Friday Incorporated. We are going to hash out what makes good referral relationships, how to build trust in your organization, how to make connections with other firms, and where a leader's role is in this. It's not just our marketing department. It's not just our intake department. Who is really in charge, and how do our leaders define those behaviors that make us a good place and build the trust to create effective referral relationships. So thank you for joining us today to talk with Delisi, and we're excited to have you. Hi, everybody, and welcome to Vista Veritas. Delisi, tell us a little bit about you and your business.
Yes. My name is Delisi Friday. I have worked in the legal industry for over 20 years. So fun fact, today is actually my birthday. And I was born the day my dad became a lawyer. So my dad's been a lawyer for 42 years. And my first job was working in his law firm at the age of 14. So the reason why I love the legal industry, the reason why I love referrals is my dad grew his law firm all from referrals and one church ad he's been doing since the 1990s. So that's why I care so much about the legal industry and lawyers and referrals. I started my business in February of 2025, and I help lawyers make friends who refer them cases.
Yeah, that's awesome. Okay. Well, like you said, this is you have deep roots in this, and so I'm sure you have seen it from the ground up. Let's start at the beginning. When firms say things like, we need more referrals, of course we need more referrals, right? Everybody wants more referrals. Those are the good cases. But what leadership gaps are usually sitting under that? Like, what gets us there?
The biggest gap I see whenever a law firm is saying we need more referrals is identifying where you need those referrals from. So there are 4 audiences you can target for referrals: your current clients, your former clients, your current referral partners, and your future referral partners. Until you've determined what audience you want to target for referrals, you can say, yes, I need more referrals, but it doesn't help if you don't know who you're targeting to generate more referrals from.
So that does kind of boil down to the leaders of the firm knowing that, right? Because you can't leave it up to your intake team or your referral specialist, right? You need to, as a leader, define what is my pocket? What is my demographic? What do I want? Right. And set that vision and that tone. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So then at what point we go from there, does the referral performance then become a direct reflection of leadership and not marketing? How do we know that? Like, we're saying we're not getting the referral relationships we want. Is this a marketing problem? Because that's kind of where our brains want. We want to blame everybody but us, right? It can't be me.
Yes.
It's got to be my marketing.
So marketing plays a very key role in bringing in referrals into the business because marketing handles the marketing and business development for the firm. However, the biggest leadership gap that I see is when the leadership team doesn't actually take the time to train everyone on how to generate more referrals. And what I mean by that is, yes, marketing can and should generate more referrals. But your hidden gold mine is the fact that anyone in the law firm can bring in more referrals. You should want everyone in your law firm to bring in more referrals. Say, for example, personal injury. Everyone in the firm can bring in a personal injury referral because car crashes don't discriminate. It
Yeah.
can happen to anyone, anywhere, including friends, family, acquaintances of everyone who works in your law firm. If the only people in your law firm who know how to bring in cases and refer business to your law firm is the marketing department, then the biggest leadership gap is the law firms that have not taken a moment to say, how can we support the rest of our office so they know how and feel comfortable referring their loved ones to our law firm?
Yeah, and even just setting the expectation, right? Like, do the paralegals know that that's a thing that they should be trying to do that? I mean, I think a lot of times we just have an inherent loyalty to our employers. So if we hear somebody was in a car crash, we'd be like, "Hey, that's what I do. You should call my firm," right? But if leaders don't set the expectation there that this is something we want, and also, how do you do it? Do you just come back to work and go running into the intake department one day and be like, "Hey, call my buddy that was in a crash," right? Who knows?
Yeah, I think that's where I love it when a law firm does consistent training within their business because that's an easy lunch and learn where you do some role playing and you say, okay, everybody, let's pretend your next door neighbor got into a car crash and they told you they got into a car crash. What are some things that you could say to them? What are some questions they may have that you don't feel comfortable answering? Let's do a little role play. Let's discuss what are your fears in having a conversation with them about this because not everyone does it naturally. And so having that training, having those conversations can be really important. And if you give them the tools, they're more likely to use them.
Okay. I want to segue a little bit because I've talked a lot about when we talk about leadership, we've talked about trust. It seems to be a recurring theme. I almost feel like trust and leadership is like 2026 leadership theme. It's so prevalent. But this comes into it too. Our referral partners do have to trust us. And that trust does come from the top, right? Like, it's great that our referral coordinator does a great job. It's great that our marketing team is doing a great job. But trust really gets built through the firm from the top. So, what leadership habits are the biggest at building trust with our referral partners? What makes referral partners want to trust us in our firm?
First, I would say doing what you say you're going to do. It sounds super simple, but it is simple. You have to do what you say you're going to do. The other part is showing up consistently. Trust takes time. You don't create trust and earn trust overnight. So being consistent and being someone who follows through with the things you say you're going to do are going to be really key there. The other part of trust is doing what you say you're going to do, doing it consistently. And then also, if you make a mistake, because it will happen, trusting your referral partner enough to have that conversation and say, hey, we had the client complain because we've got a gap in treatment because something happened and my team dropped the ball here. Own that conversation and have it with them. I think you can also earn trust when you're really honest and open with your referral partners when something doesn't go right versus I think you lose trust if something goes wrong on a case and you try and hide it or you don't address it and it comes up later and it comes up later in a negative way. I would rather be proactive and have that conversation up front and earn that trust because I've had a difficult conversation. I think a lot of lawyers, we think because they debate and negotiate all day long, that they will just naturally have uncomfortable conversations because that's what they do. But that is a
Like,
misconception. Some of them hate having those conversations and will run the opposite direction. And so I think having those difficult conversations is also really key in building trust.
yeah, and they have to pattern that, right? Because oftentimes when one firm is calling maybe to check on a referral they might have given over, right? They're not talking to the firm owner when they call in, right? They're talking to somebody on their team. It's not just about taking accountability or owning our mess, right? It's about showing our team how to do it and
Mhm.
then teaching them when to elevate it. Because my next question was going to say, And you already started to address this, like what behaviors erode that trust the most and the fastest? And which ones do you see the most common? Like, what do you see out there in the industry? What are people doing that are just killing that relationship?
So it's funny because it's not what you think. There were times because I did this role. One of the reasons why I know you guys is when I spent 7 years in house, I worked with Michael Cowan at Cowan Rodriguez Peacock. And that's how I met y'all because we used Vista. That's how I met Tim. And one of the things I learned when I was in that role is just how important it is to have other people in the office have relationships with your referral partners. So one of the challenges is if you were a law firm where the owner is the only one who has the relationship with your referral partners, the thing that can be an issue for you is when you become the bottleneck because you're doing the work. So if you were in a deposition, if you're in a mediation, if you're in trial, if you're traveling and your referral partners don't have another contact in your firm and they have something that's really urgent, make sure they know who else they can talk to within the firm because you're not available. I think we are now in an area of the legal industry where everyone wants something instantly. Everything is instant. I can track my
Yeah, our entire
Amazon package.
society is instant gratification. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
I want my
Yes.
answer and I want it now.
Yes. We are now training our brains to think everything is instant. And so, where you can have your relationships go south is if you are not able to provide everything instantly. Make sure that your referral partners know who else they can access and get a hold of if you're not instantly available. I think that's a really big one because you want them to have access to someone. You also never want to be the bottleneck. And the worst thing I would want to hear is we had a case, didn't hear you for like 2 hours. This guy really needed help right now. I called up Plan B. Plan B signed it up and we're good. Sorry. I
Yeah,
would
for
never want to hear that.
So that was sort of, leaders in their absence, because honestly, most law firm leaders should not be on the first line of those phone calls, right? They, like you said, they become the bottleneck when they do that. Yes, you built the relationship. Yes, you shook the hands, but now you've got to trust your team to carry it, from here, because it would be impossible, right? You call
Yes.
me about a case and you want an update. How many cases are in your firm? There's no way you could possibly give that information. So that's sort of, I want to say, how does leadership presence and absence affect the confidence folks have in referring cases, both our clients and our referral partners, et cetera. But so that's kind of absence. What about the presence? Do they expect the law firm leaders to be around? Do they expect them to really know the cases? Or do you think the expectation really is out there that it's okay as long as your team is operating, in harmony with your vision regarding as referrals? How does that work? What is the best practice there?
I think that depends, like lawyers love to say, it depends on
Yeah.
the size of the firm and also the relationships. So I have several of my clients that are true solos. They're the only attorney in the firm. They have a team of admin. And so they are going to be the point of contact because they just started their law firm. And realistically, their team is very new. So they haven't created that trust yet with their team to say, hey, if this referral partner calls, take care of it because they're just so new. So for the new law firm owners, that's not realistic for them right away. For the law firms that are scaling their business and they're creating a team that they can rely on, they have a leadership team in place. I think that's also where the messaging comes into play. As someone who did the role for quite a long time, the referral partners all wanted to talk to the attorney, to Michael
Hmm.
Cowan, and that made sense, right? But we got to a point where he was so busy, if he became the only contact, then we would lose our momentum. So we had to have conversations. He would have to say, hey, here is Delisi. If I'm not available, you can reach out to her and she will assist you. It is her full-time job to assist you. And that was the messaging. But that messaging had to be accompanied with we cannot grow our firm if we don't
Right.
have the right team in place to support the growth.
Yeah.
And I
The why
think that
behind the why.
messaging and that tone is really important because you're telling your referral partners, hey, I'm creating a team. I'm trying to run a business. Realistically, I'm not always going to be here. You should be supportive and feel confident that I've got the right team in place. And so I think it really depends on the lawyer, what their team looks like, how big they are, and if they have the ability to introduce those other people. For some lawyers who are true solos, it's just not an option yet.
Yeah. So let's talk about the uglier side of that, though. When we don't necessarily maybe have the right team in place, what behaviors do you see leaders tolerate, maybe overly tolerate, that are ultimately hurting their referral relationships, and honestly, just their reputation, right? That's the same thing. Their firm's reputation overall is what's getting them these referrals. So we're talking about referral state because that's your specialty. But when leaders tolerate behaviors that they should not, it does affect overall the reputation. Have you seen any out there? Like, what are those top behaviors that were like, I really wish the firm leaders were putting more of a kibosh on these sooner?
I think the biggest one would be when a law firm is trying to grow their business and they really need referrals and they tolerate referrals from individuals who do not show respect to their team. And I think what you accept is what you tolerate. And if you accept referrals from other lawyers or other professionals out there who are disrespecting your team, who are not talking to them in a professional way, who are being very aggressive and rude on the phone, if you continue to tolerate that, you're setting the tone that that's okay. And that's not okay. Now, some lawyers have told me, because I will give them pushback and I will tell them, you are setting a wrong precedent here.
Right.
You are telling this referral partner, if they treat your office like crap, that's okay. And that's not a relationship that you want to have with someone. But there are some people who will say, well, I really need the business. And I'm like, well, okay. I'm going to suggest maybe you don't need the business from someone who's going to be unprofessional like that. You can listen to it or not, but what you accept and what you tolerate when it's negative like that is something I feel very strongly no attorney should do, even if they're desperate for the case. Because how many times have you accepted a bad referral, a bad client, and all those red flags were there? They didn't go away. It's
Yeah.
still going to be there the whole time.
And the cost of that referral in the end, right? It's interesting. Yeah. Making sure that that respect is there from both sides, right?
You have the cases, but do you have the leaders to manage them? We know the difference between a plaintiff firm that scales and one that stalls in strong leadership. That's why Dr. Heather Carroll and Vista Consulting created the Pinnacle Leadership Program. We train your key players to communicate clearly, coach your team members, and drive real performance. This program provides the hard currency for your firm's bottom line. Empower your leaders today. Visit Vista.com to learn more and enroll. VISTACT.com.
How does leadership alignment or misalignment, I want to get a little bit more in the weeds on this, that's how the firm shows up to referral partners, right? Your entire team needs that alignment. And we talked about communication and trust. What can leaders do to just make sure that their team is aligned and that they are portraying that as this? So if we did say, hey, this isn't a good fit, like how do we know that it's a good fit, a universal fit? Have you got any insight for us there?
Yes, I think there are two examples I can give. One is going to be case acceptance criteria. This is where I see leadership misalignment, and it can impact other people in the firm and also create some miscommunication. And what I mean by that is maybe you've got a long-standing referral partner and your case acceptance criteria has changed, but you don't want to reject the cases you no longer accept because you're scared your referral relationship is going to dwindle and your referrals are going to decrease because you're no longer accepting this case you no longer want. That I see as an issue because then you've started to confuse your intake, because intake is like, well, wait a second. You told me we weren't taking slip and falls anymore, but Bob just referred to slip and fall cases. So I'm really confused. Are we taking slip and fall cases? Are we not taking slip and fall cases? And that's where there's some miscommunication and misalignment. So I see it in one area there. The other place I will see it is a lot of lawyers think referral marketing is networking and only networking. It's not only networking. But what I will see in terms of misalignment is the firm will say, we need to generate more referrals. We need to bring in more business. And they don't take a second to assess where they get that business from and if the places where they're showing up make sense. So, for example, I hear lawyers say all the time, Delisi, I want more referrals. I network all the time. It's just not working. And I'll say, okay, great. Where do you want referrals from? I want to get more referrals from family law attorneys. Okay. Where are the places you're going to network to generate more referrals from family law attorneys? Oh, well, I didn't think about it like that. I've just always been a part of the Texas Trial Lawyers Association. I never really thought that I don't actually meet any family law attorneys there. And so the misalignment will be the leadership team says, hey, we're going to continue to pay for everyone to have a membership in this association. But no one took a moment to say, does that make sense given the goals that we have for our law firm and where we want to generate more business from? Just because we've always done something doesn't mean we still have to continue to always do this one thing. We should pivot, we should adjust based on our goals. But if no one's asking that question, we're wasting our time, we're wasting our money in places that we shouldn't.
Yeah. Well, segueing a little bit, that's you're a business founder and owner, and that's a big deal. And so you've had a chance to lead business, lead teams. And so, I want to get a little insight, just personal perspective from you on that. And what is your leadership philosophy? What did you build when you decided, I want to go out on my own? I don't want to necessarily work with firms, or I want to work with firms, but not for firms. And I think I have a way of doing this that's a little bit better. And I'm going to be groundbreaking and start my own business. You created your own philosophy. Tell us a little bit about that.
So I have two people to thank for that. One is Michael Cowan, because I would not know the things I enjoy doing to generate referrals if I didn't work with him for 7 years. He's the reason why I knew that was my calling. Yes, I worked in my dad's law firm since I was 14, but working for my dad and doing things the way my father wanted to for many years is very different than the experience I had working in-house with someone else and trying that with a different business. The other part of it was I spent 2 years as chief of staff to R. John Robbins, the attorney and 8-figure serial entrepreneur who created How to Manage a Small Law Firm. I had a front row seat into how a genius like him would coach law firms all across the country. But he also has an enterprise, which I helped him with. And I saw how he managed all of his businesses. He has over 20 businesses. And I learned the business side of owning a business, which I didn't get with my experience with my father and my experience with Michael Cowan. Arjan truly taught me the business fundamentals that happen in a law firm happen in any business. And I saw over and over and over and over again what to do. So when I started my business, honestly, I took a little bit of all of the men who have just been wonderful inspirations to me. I used what I learned from my dad since I was a little kid about creating relationships. I used what I learned from Michael Cowan about how personal injury law firms do this on the B side. I learned everything when it comes to running a business from R. John Robbins and applied it to mine. And I learned very quickly that if I only work with law firms one-to-one, then I will reach capacity for how many law firms I can impact in the world. And so that's where I started to do one-to-many and create an online community, because I realized I can help more lawyers that way and very naturally create an environment where they meet each other and all refer business to each other.
Yeah.
And that's my goal in life, is to help lawyers make friends who refer them cases. I just want to put them all in a room together and make them be friends with each other and
Make them
refer
be
business.
friends. That's funny. And, they have to trust you to do this, right? We talked a little bit about how referral partners need to trust the firms, but they have to, what is your method of going into these firms and saying, trust me, listen to me, I'm going to put you in a room and tell you who to be friends with, and I need you to just do what I say here. What is your philosophy on earning that trust with the firms you work with?
So I think a lot of that trust comes from the fact that people know I worked in-house with Michael for 7 years, and I never broke his trust. I never shared any of his referral partners' information with anyone else. And I have been very respectful and honorable since I left. Same with our John Robbins. A lot of people ask me a lot of questions about that. I never broke that trust. I instilled what my father taught me as a kid. It takes years to build legacy and seconds to lose it. I know if I do not live a life where I am trustworthy and honorable at all times, my business will not succeed. It takes a very special lawyer to open up to me and say, Delisi, here are all my referral partners, and trust that I'm not going to share that data and share that name with someone else. Yes, I signed a very strict NDA with all of them, but they have to trust me enough to know I would never share that with anyone else. And I'm also going to be very honest and tell them when there are problems that they need to address. So a lot of that trust, I think, comes from my credibility. Having been in the legal industry for over 20 years now, a lot of people have known me since I was a kid, literally since I was a kid, because my network runs so deep.
Sure.
And so that is part of it. But also, I've never broken the trust of anyone I've ever worked for. And I think that means something.
Have you ever had to make the call that like maybe this isn't a good fit? Like you're meeting with a firm and think, just like you said, sometimes referral relationships aren't a good fit, right? And that's a behavior you would want the firm to shut down. Have you ever said this is not a good
Yes.
fit for my business? How do you handle that? First of all, what makes you realize that? And then what are your action items? What do you do when that happens?
So I have done that a few times with a couple of people, and one of them is practice area. Have a very special place in my heart for criminal defense and personal injury lawyers because that's what my dad does. And that's what I did for so long. The criminal defense and PI lawyers are just my people. And so I know I gravitate towards those kinds of lawyers and family law and employment law, and just those are my people. Probate and estate planning, because they deal with so many clients that can give them referrals for years and they
Sure.
help so many people consistently. I know I can't work for someone or with someone if I don't truly understand what they do and who they help. There are certain business attorneys that when I ask them who they're trying to generate referrals from, they're trying to generate referrals from a type of person I don't fully understand. And if I can't feel confident in the consulting I provide, I can't help them. The other part is going to be if it's an attorney. Early on, I thought 9-figure law firms were going to be my favorite because they'd just have big budgets and it would be fun. And I was very wrong because I learned the bigger the law firm, the bigger the budget, the harder it is to make decisions. And I love to make decisions right away and keep momentum and just go and go and go. And I realized if the law firm is too big, if it's like 30 million in revenue or more, they're going to take longer to make decisions. Too many people are going to have opinions, and I'll never be able to do something and continue momentum. And so I won't work at the law firm if they're too big. I learned that the hard way.
You have found your niche, your sweet spot where you accept. What do you tell those firms when you have to kind of give them what is your let them down easy talk? I don't want to burn a bridge, right? Or maybe they could still referral relationships are I'm sure important to you as well. Like maybe they're not your cup of tea, but who knows when they're going to talk with a firm who would benefit from your expertise.
I'm just really honest about it. I will tell them, look, I really don't understand who you're trying to target well enough that I think I'm a good fit for you. The other part is I gave a speech last week and there were a lot of attorneys in there who represent government entities and municipalities. And when you represent corporations like that, there are a lot of very strict regulations. I believe referrals come from relationship building, and I love to gift. And there are certain things that I believe in they cannot do because there's so many regulations and red tape. And so I'll just have that conversation with them. Look, gifting is my passion. If you're going to tell me that we can't send a gift to one of your referral partners because it's their birthday, then I am not a good fit because I'm going to cry that we can't send someone their favorite gift for their birthday. I'm going to be really upset that you just told me someone's pet died and I have this idea for a great gift when someone's pet dies. It's really meaningful and you can't do that. Like, I can't help you. I'm just too much of a people person.
Yeah.
Honestly, no one has ever been upset about that because I'm just being really honest.
It
I'd be a
makes
horrible
sense.
person if I said, yes, give me your money, but I can't really help you.
Yeah. No, that's really great. My next question too kind of ties into that. Your non-negotiables. And I would say that because that sounds like that's kind of one of them, right? You kind of tapped into that. What are your non-negotiables, both with two parts, one with the firms you work with, but also within your own organization, your own team, the folks that you're leading as well? What are your non-negotiables there that you sometimes just as a leader have to draw some lines to stay true to who you are, right?
Yes, I would say a non negotiable is being professional and doing the right thing. I think anyone who puts money over a relationship is someone I can't do business with. I think someone who is ever disrespectful to anyone on my team or to any of their referral partners is someone I can't do business with. I have a clause in my online community that anyone who is a jerk or disrespectful to anyone else in the online community, I have the right to just kick them out because I believe it's important for us to respect one another, and I will never tolerate that. I also don't want to work with someone who consistently badmouths others. I think our legal community is so small. I want to make friends, but I also never want to make enemies. So if a lawyer I meet is constantly bad mouthing other attorneys, other vendors, that's not something I want to be around. I don't want to be associated with it.
It's your trust, right? You don't trust
Yes,
someone anymore.
I think it's important to talk about the problem, but don't talk about the problem and then completely just talk about the person or the company that did it because I know there's always two sides to every story, and I would never want someone to do that to me. I would want the opportunity to say my side, but I don't believe in that kind of gaslighting or that kind of negative talk. I just don't want to be around it. That's why I'll never be a politician. I don't want to get into fights with people. I just want to be Switzerland.
I get it. And you're like you said, there's a difference between saying, hey, I had an issue with someone, and this is very factual, versus somebody who has an issue with everyone or can't give you any facts, or you see that it's not being done proactively. Like you said, it's one thing to say, like, hey, this happened with this individual or this organization, and this is what it was. But when we're just talking about it, not in a way that we aim to fix anything, that's really the difference there, it sounds
Yeah,
like.
agreed. So, anyone who isn't going to fix a problem, like if I come across a real problem in the law firm and I'm concerned, and you're like, oh, whatever.
Yeah.
But I think you might have an ethics complaint one day or someone might file a grievance, then I probably don't want to work with you.
So how have you had to evolve that? I know when you first start a business, sometimes we're just eager to please. Like anybody who wants to work with me, come on, I've got you. You know, I want to build this and I'm going to do, and firms are the same way, right? You'll hear lawyers talk like, we just took any case in the beginning. If somebody was willing to make my phone ring, you know, I was going to bring them on. But all business owners feel that way a little bit. And then as you evolve, that line maybe starts moving in. How have you had to evolve as a leader and in your philosophy as your business has grown over the years? What things have you had to change and what mindset lessons you learned along the way that made you realize I need to adjust?
I have Arjan to thank for that because he is a true entrepreneur who'd always test and test and test and test and test. And I hated it because I was like, I was just getting really good at going straight. Now you want me to turn left. What are we doing? And he kind of broke me because I got used to that. And I think because he taught me the importance of having to change and make decisions very quickly so I could learn something right away, I implement that in my business. So when I started and I thought, oh, these 9-figure firms are going to be my favorite, as soon as I learned that they wouldn't, it just took two. And I'm like, no, I'm not going to work with anyone who does over 100 million in revenue because I know I'm not going to enjoy that. I learned that lesson and then I moved on. As soon as I learned the kind of practice areas where I didn't feel like I could offer as much value, I learned, okay, now that's something I'm going to screen for. So every time I learned a lesson, I use it as an opportunity to change something in my business. And now I just consider myself like a little mad scientist in my business. I'm just testing and testing and testing. That didn't work. Great. I'm just going to do something else. This doesn't work. What if I try this? And it's kind of fun. It's scary, but it's
Yeah.
also kind of fun.
But it
And at the
gives
end of
you a
the
little
day,
bit
I
of
want
sense
to
of
create a
power,
business
right?
that Yes.
I can segue. I can. So
So
it's
I
not
want
a mistake. Yeah. It's a strategic decision then, right?
mhm. I
Yeah.
I also wanna build a business that works for me. If I wanted to work for my business, I would have stayed working with other people. I had a very great life doing that. But if I'm gonna build something for myself, I wanna build something I'm proud of and that I'm gonna love doing. Because when I love doing this, it doesn't feel like work. I love lawyers. Not a lot of people say it with passion like I do and truly mean it. I literally love lawyers and referrals. I never wanna lose that passion.
Sure. Yeah, I think a lot of us feel like it means we have to admit we made a mistake if we segue. And it's not. We learn, like you said, as much from our predecessors and our mentors, right, as we can. But what works for them doesn't necessarily work for us. What worked in their time and their day and their stage of this business doesn't necessarily work today. So we have to learn to view that more as strategy when we segue. We didn't make a mistake. We decided very strategically to go a different direction. And that's what all that really is, right?
Yeah, I would rather make 10 mistakes than just make one because it means I'm learning them faster. I'm going to be light years ahead of the other company out there that isn't trying to make any mistakes. Let me fall forward.
I tell firm owners sometimes I say the mistakes are happening. If you're not learning about, if you don't know of them, if you're not hearing about them, then you're just not hearing about them. They're still happening. So if you aren't hearing about them, talking about them and making action, then that just means they're happening behind your back. They're happening,
Mhm.
where you're not aware of it. So
Mhm. And
all
maybe
right,
your
well,
firm's big enough you don't need to know about all of them.
sure. Yeah. And that's okay as long as if we're still going in our direction. So let's wrap it up today. I want to ask you on a much more personal side, I guess, so far. What is one lesson you've had to learn the hard way along the years as you've grown your business? What is something one maybe a mistake you made or just something that you did catch in advance, but something you had to learn the hard way? We all have to sometimes.
I think and any lawyer who's listening to this will agree. I think the hard lesson I had to learn was the value I provide when I work with someone and that value is tied to the amount of money I charge someone. So a while I was charging significantly less than what I charge right now. I charge 10 times more what I charge right now than I did February of 2025 because I was thinking of myself as an hourly employee instead of the value I provide because someone is skipping all of those hard lessons I had to learn the hard way when they work with me. So my value is in my experience. My value is in what I have learned and I can share with you so you don't have to. My value is in the connections I have. There's so much to my value. It's not just the hourly rate. And I used to feel so uncomfortable telling lawyers my number, so uncomfortable. And then I just had to say it and say it and say it. And then eventually get that feedback from my clients where they would say, man, what you just said was worth everything I've paid you. And just hearing comments like that to validate my worth and finding my worth has been, I even feel bad saying it. Like it's just been such a challenge to feel comfortable knowing what I'm worth and saying what I'm worth and standing in that when I tell someone how much it's going to be to work with me. Like that's a real personal mindset challenge to have to go through on a regular basis. And when I share that with some of my clients, they'll say, well, how do you think I feel when I'm telling a client how much I charge for my retainer? How do you think I feel when I tell them my hourly rate? And I think myself and also my clients have gone through that journey together because we all have to tell our clients how much we charge and learning the difference between what I charge and the value of what I provide has been a real I'm still learning that lesson.
Yeah, you're right. It is an awkward, right? This is the dollar amount, right? We still get a little bit squeamish sometimes, but you're right. If you keep that amount too low, you're also sending a message. You're also saying this is all I'm worth, right? So you do want to be very fair to yourself there as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And then when someone challenges you, what do you say back? I had a lawyer one time who goes, I've never heard of any consultant never charging that. And I said, well, how many other people have you talked to like me? Like, I want to know who it is. I want to know if what I'm charging is not appropriate. And he said, well, actually, I don't know. I said, okay, well, then how do you know that my number is not appropriate? And he's like, I guess I don't.
That's so funny. I love that. I love that. And you're saying, hey, I'm humble. Like, hook me up. Let me talk to these folks and see where are my differences. Let me learn, you're not just saying you're wrong. You're saying, let's get to the bottom of it, but that's so funny. Yeah. That he really didn't know.
Maybe I can refer them business.
Sure. Maybe I should be talking to them.
Yes.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Delisi. This has been very helpful. I love this. We will be excited to talk to you again in the future. And if anybody out here would like to speak to you more that's listening to this, contact us here at Vista. We will definitely get you guys connected so that you can see all that Delisi does have to offer you and your firm. So again, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you, everybody, for tuning in to this episode of Vista Veritas. We hope everyone found valuable insights. They'll help you lead with honesty, integrity within your own practices. Don't forget to subscribe, leave a review, share this podcast with your colleagues in the legal profession. If you have any questions or would like to connect with us, visit our website, follow us on social media, and everybody just keep leading with transparency, and we'll see you in the next episode of Vista Veritas.